The twin suns of New Terra Colony hung low over the horizon, casting long shadows across the golden fields. Milo walked along the dirt path, his boots kicking up small clouds of dust. The air smelled faintly of minerals and fresh soil, a scent he had come to love. His arms were strong from years of hard labor, his hands calloused yet careful as he carried the small satchel filled with credits from his farm sales. Milo was a farmer, one of the few who had dedicated his life to growing food for the growing human colony. Every morning he woke before dawn, tending to his crops of hydrocorn, crystal beans, and nutrient-rich grains. He worked under the blazing suns and against New Terra's harsh winds, yet he never complained. For Milo, the farm was more than a livelihood, it was his purpose. Today, Milo was walking into the central bank of the colony. Unlike the open fields and simple shelters he knew, the bank was a fortress of glass and metal, polished to perfection. Its sliding doors hissed as they opened, and a soft hum of climate control and machinery filled the lobby. Holographic screens displayed current exchange rates, colony news, and advertisements for energy-efficient farming equipment. Milo stepped forward, holding his small satchel tightly. He had earned these credits honestly, working tirelessly for months. But as he approached the counter, his heart sank. Behind the glass partition stood Director Han, the bank's manager. Han's sharp uniform was spotless, his posture rigid, and his expression one of superiority. He looked at Milo with an almost imperceptible sneer. "Good morning, sir," Milo said politely, placing the satchel on the counter. Han glanced at the satchel, then back at Milo. "What is this?" he asked, his tone cold. "Did you intend to throw this at me?" Milo blinked in surprise. "No, sir. This is my deposit," he said gently. "All my earnings from my farm this season." Han's eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe you earned all this money? You are a farmer. Your clothes are not exactly fitting for someone with this much wealth." Milo swallowed hard, but he stayed calm. "I work hard every day, sir. I earn my credits honestly. I just want to deposit them safely." Han let out a small, derisive laugh. Without warning, he took the satchel and, with a flick of his wrist, sent it tumbling to the floor. Coins and credit chips spilled across the polished tiles, bouncing and clinking loudly. The sound echoed in the lobby, drawing the attention of other customers. Milo's eyes widened, but he did not react with anger. Slowly, he knelt and began picking up the scattered credits. His fingers moved carefully, gathering each coin and chip as though they were fragile. He did not shout. He did not argue. He simply did what needed to be done. Around him, whispers began to spread. Other customers leaned over their counters, their faces showing shock and disbelief. Some quietly activated personal holographic recorders. Even a few bank employees glanced nervously at Director Han, as if sensing that something was wrong, but unsure what to do. Han, however, seemed completely unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, about the stir he had caused. "Hurry up," he snapped. "I don't have time for your clumsy hands." Milo continued gathering his money. "Sir, please, there is no need to rush. I will ensure everything is collected carefully." The room was quiet, except for the soft clink of coins. Milo's calmness stood in stark contrast to Han's arrogance. Even the faint hum of the bank's machinery seemed to pause for a moment, as though the colony itself was watching. Finally, Milo picked up the last coin and placed it carefully back into his satchel. He stood brushing the dust from his hands and looked at Han. "I hope, sir, that you understand the value of hard work," he said softly. Han sneered, unconvinced. "Value? Don't lecture me on value, farmer. Perhaps you should spend more time learning proper manners than tending your dirt." Milo did not respond further. Instead, he turned and walked toward the exit. Every step was deliberate, measured. He left the bank without another word, but the feeling of dignity remained. Outside, Milo paused, taking a deep breath of the crisp, dry air. The twin suns warmed his back, and he felt the familiar comfort of the fields waiting for him. Yet he knew the incident at the bank would not remain private for long. The colony was connected in ways that no one could hide from. Holographic, Networks, personal devices, and communal feeds ensured that actions, both good and bad, traveled quickly. As he walked back to his farm, Milo noticed that some of the nearby citizens were watching him. Their eyes were full of curiosity, some even admiration. Children peeked from behind crates, whispering to each other about the farmer who had been treated unfairly, yet had remained calm and strong. Meanwhile, back at the bank, Han was pacing behind the counter, muttering to himself, "How could this happen? I am the manager here. I am in charge." He did not notice the growing ripple of attention from holographic feeds that had recorded the incident. Within minutes, messages were spreading across the colony, showing his actions and Milo's quiet dignity. In the evening, Milo returned to his farm. The fields stretched far and wide, golden under the twin suns, swaying gently in the wind. Milo knelt in the soil, feeling the earth with his hands. His farm was his world, and despite the injustice he faced earlier, it remained untouched and pure. He tended his plants with care, whispering encouragement as if the crops themselves could hear him. That night, Milo's small shelter was quiet. He sat by the window looking at the stars that sparkled beyond New Terra's thin atmosphere. He thought about Director Han and the incident in the bank, but he did not dwell on anger or revenge. Instead, he thought about tomorrow, about the seeds that needed water, about the possibility of sharing his harvest with others in the colony. For Milo, dignity was not measured by credits or recognition. It was measured by how he lived each day, how he treated others, and how he remained true to himself. And even though the world outside might not always see it immediately, Milo knew that human decency, patience, and strength could not be hidden forever. By the next morning, the story of the bank incident had begun to circulate across New Terra colony. Citizens discussed it in marketplaces, in farming collectives, and in community centers. Some were outraged, some inspired, but all noticed one thing. Milo's calm and dignity in the face of arrogance had left a mark. Unbeknownst to Milo, the Colony Council, the group responsible for maintaining order and fairness, had already begun reviewing the incident. They were connected to the bank through secure networks and had received the holographic recordings from several citizens. The council understood that Milo was not just a farmer, but a vital part of the colony's survival. The system was beginning to awaken to the reality that injustice, even in small forms, could not be ignored. As Milo went about his daily routine, tending the crops, repairing irrigation lines, and preparing for the next planting cycle, he remained unaware of the attention he was receiving. Yet his actions had already begun to plant a seed, one that would grow and flourish in the hearts of the colony's citizens. By the end of Part 1, readers are left with a sense of anticipation. How will the colony respond to Han's arrogance? Will Milo's dignity lead to change? The story has set the stage for justice, unity, and human triumph, the core of HFY storytelling. The sun rose slowly over New Terra colony, painting the streets with a soft golden light. Citizens began their daily routines, some heading to farms, others to workshops or market stalls. Yet, amidst the usual hum of the colony, a new topic of conversation spread like wildfire: the incident at the central bank yesterday. At the colony's main marketplace, Mara, a food supplier, was arranging crates of nutrient-packed fruits when a group of citizens approached her. One of them, a young man named Tilo, held a small holographic device. "Did you see this?" Tilo asked, showing the recording to Mara. The hologram displayed Director Han throwing a farmer's credits onto the floor while the farmer calmly picked them up. Mara's eyes widened. "Is that Milo?" "He's the farmer who grows the hydrocorn near the eastern fields." "Yes," Tilo said, his voice filled with disbelief. And he didn't even yell or argue, he just picked up the money like it was nothing. "But look at Han. He looks furious and arrogant." Word spread quickly. Soon, every stall in the marketplace was discussing the event. People were shocked, not only by Han's arrogance but by Milo's calm and dignity. Children repeated the story to each other in whispers, while adults debated what should happen next. Meanwhile, Milo continued his work on the farm, unaware of the attention he was receiving. He moved carefully through the fields, inspecting each crop. The hydrocorn swayed gently in the wind. The crystal beans glimmered faintly under the twin suns. and Milo's hands felt the familiar texture of the nutrient-rich soil. His neighbor, a farmer named Juno, approached, carrying a basket of harvested grains. "Milo," Juno said, pausing near the edge of the field, "I heard what happened at the bank. Everyone in the colony is talking about it. How did you stay so calm?" Milo looked up, wiping sweat from his brow. "I do what I must," he said simply. "Losing my patience will not help my crops, my farm, or anyone else. There is a better way to handle injustice than anger." Juno nodded slowly, impressed. Still, not many would stay calm like that. People are saying it shows true strength. At the bank, the atmosphere was tense. Employees whispered quietly among themselves, glancing nervously at Director Han. Hollow recordings of the incident had already begun circulating among the colony's networks, and some of the higher officials had started to question Han's actions. "I don't understand why everyone is upset," Han muttered to himself, pacing behind the counter. "He is just a farmer. I am the manager. I should be in charge, not—" He stopped mid-sentence, noticing a small cluster of employees watching him closely. Their expressions were serious, almost disapproving. One employee, an older woman named Sira, stepped forward cautiously. "Sir, perhaps we should review our customer interaction policies. Citizens are concerned," Han waved her off. "Nonsense. I did nothing wrong. I am in charge here. The farmer should have respected me." But even as Han spoke, whispers outside the bank grew louder. Citizens were sharing stories, discussing fairness, and posting the recordings on personal networks. Milo's quiet strength had made a powerful impression. That evening, the Colony Council received reports of the incident. Council members met in a circular chamber, its walls glowing softly with integrated data displays. The chairperson, a thoughtful woman named Lyra, activated the holographic recording of Milo and Han at the bank. "Watch this," Lyra said, and the hologram played across the room. Members murmured among themselves, shocked by the manager's arrogance and Milo's calm. "This is unacceptable behavior," one council member said. "The manager is responsible for maintaining order, respect, and dignity in all transactions. Instead, he humiliated a citizen," another member added. "And notice how calm Milo is. He did not retaliate or argue. He simply performed his duty responsibly. This is exactly the kind of character we should support." Lyra nodded. "Agreed, we will contact the bank headquarters immediately. An investigation must begin, and the manager should be held accountable if this behavior continues." Back on his farm, Milo had finished watering the hydrocorn. He looked at the field stretching toward the horizon. The golden stalk swayed gently, catching the light of the twin suns. Even as he felt satisfaction in his work, Milo could not completely ignore the whispers spreading across the colony. People had begun to notice the value of his contribution, not just as a farmer, but as a symbol of integrity. In the following days, Milo noticed more people stopping by the edges of his fields, observing him as he worked. Some offered him words of encouragement. Others quietly recorded their own videos, praising his calmness and perseverance. Milo did not seek attention. He continued to tend his crops, but a quiet pride grew within him. He realized that true respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned through actions, patience, and integrity. Meanwhile, Director Han's situation worsened. Reports of the incident had reached the Colony Council and higher officials at the bank headquarters. Citizens had begun questioning Han's leadership, leaving messages on public forums demanding accountability. Even employees within the bank whispered about the potential consequences. One morning, Han arrived at the bank, only to find the lobby filled with murmuring citizens and several council representatives. A holographic display above the counter showed images from yesterday, the scattered credits, Milo picking them up, Han's expression of anger. "This is absurd," Han muttered. "Why is everyone staring at me? I am the manager. I should be respected." A council representative stepped forward. "Director Han, your actions yesterday were inappropriate. You humiliated a citizen and failed to demonstrate the respect expected from someone in your position. The council will review the situation and determine the necessary actions." Han's face turned red with frustration. "This is nonsense. I did nothing wrong. That farmer should have shown respect." But the murmurs from citizens grew louder. Many had posted videos on personal networks, showing the entire incident from different angles. The truth was visible for all to see. Milo had acted with calm, dignity, and honesty. while Han had displayed arrogance and disrespect. Back on his farm, Milo received a communication from the Colony Council. They invited him to a formal discussion about the incident. Milo read the message carefully, then smiled softly. He knew he had done nothing wrong, but he also understood the importance of participating. Respect and fairness could not thrive if left unchecked. They required voices like his to support them. As the days passed, the whispers of Milo's actions spread further. Citizens shared stories of his hard work, patience, and contribution to the colony's survival. Children in schools talked about the farmer who had stood tall in the face of arrogance. Farmers and traders alike admired his humility and calmness. Milo's story became a subtle but powerful symbol of human dignity in the colony. At the same time, Director Han's reputation continued to decline. Employees hesitated to follow his orders, citizens questioned his authority, and higher officials began to doubt his suitability for the position. The situation had escalated beyond his control. Despite all this, Milo remained focused on his farm. He understood that justice was not about revenge or confrontation. It was about integrity, fairness, and contributing to the well-being of others. As he worked under the twin suns, tending to his crops, Milo knew that the colony itself was beginning to recognize the value of these qualities. By the end of Part 2, the story sets the stage for the upcoming investigation. The Colony Council has begun to take action. Citizens are discussing fairness and dignity, and Milo's quiet strength has inspired many. The tension grows, and readers anticipate how the events will unfold, whether justice will prevail, and how human decency will triumph over arrogance. The following morning, New Terra Colony was alive with whispers. Citizens moved through the streets discussing the incident at the central bank. Milo, meanwhile, was already in his fields inspecting the crystal beans and checking the irrigation channels. He worked quietly, aware of the attention he was receiving but not distracted by it. The Colony Council had begun their formal investigation. Council chambers were filled with soft glowing lights and holographic displays. Council members sat in a circular formation, reviewing reports and recordings. The chairperson, Lyra, spoke with authority. "Members of the council," she said, "the incident at the central bank has caught the attention of citizens across the colony. Director Han's actions are not acceptable. We must examine the facts carefully and determine the proper response." A younger council member, Nilo, activated the holographic recording of the event. Every detail was visible. The satchel of credits on the counter, Han's dismissive gesture, the coins scattering across the floor, and Milo's calm hands collecting each one carefully. "This is shocking," Nilo said. Director Han's behavior demonstrates a lack of respect and understanding. He not only humiliated a citizen but also displayed poor judgment for someone in his position. Another council member, Sira, added, "Milo's actions, on the other hand, show patience, dignity, and responsibility. He could have reacted with anger, yet he handled the situation calmly." "His character deserves recognition," Lyra nodded. "Agreed. We will conduct interviews, review Milo's contribution to the colony, and consult the bank's regulations. The council will decide on appropriate measures." Meanwhile, Milo received a message from the council requesting his presence. Though he was hesitant at first, he understood the importance of participating. He packed a small bag, leaving his farm temporarily in the hands of a trusted neighbor, Juno, and prepared to visit the council chambers. As Milo entered the council building, he noticed the soft hum of the energy field that protected the structure. The walls glowed faintly, displaying information about colony resources and agricultural statistics. Citizens had come to watch, curious about the farmer who had captured the colony's attention. Milo was guided to the central chamber. Council members looked at him with respect, their expressions a mixture of admiration and seriousness. Lyra spoke first. "Milo," she said, "thank you for coming. We have reviewed reports of your actions at the central bank. Before we proceed, could you describe what happened in your own words?" Milo nodded. "Yes, Chairperson. I went to the bank to deposit my earnings from the farm. Director Han dismissed me, and then he threw my credits onto the floor. I picked them up carefully and left. I did not argue or respond with anger because it would not have helped anyone, and it would not have solved the problem." The council members exchanged approving glances. Sira asked, "Milo, can you tell us more about your work on the farm and how it contributes to the colony?" Milo smiled faintly. I grow hydrocorn, crystal beans, and nutrient-rich grains. The colony relies on this food to survive. I work every day to ensure there is enough for everyone. My farm is small, but it supports many families. Lyra leaned forward. It is clear that you have contributed greatly. Your actions demonstrate not only hard work, but also integrity and patience. The council wishes to ensure that all citizens, including those in positions of authority, respect these values. Outside the council building, citizens gathered. Holographic displays broadcasted Milo's testimony, and people watched intently. Some whispered to each other, expressing pride in Milo's calm strength and humility. Others discussed how the colony could prevent incidents like this from happening again. Back at the bank, Director Han was informed of the investigation. His expression darkened. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "I am the manager. I should not be questioned for my actions. That farmer, he will regret this." However, the employees quietly shared recordings of the event with the council. Some of Han's colleagues had long been concerned about his arrogance. Now they saw an opportunity to ensure that proper conduct was enforced. Meanwhile, Milo returned to his farm, but he remained connected to the council proceedings. His neighbor, Juno, brought updates from the council and the community. Citizens praised Milo for handling the situation calmly, noting that he had become an example of dignity and patience. The council convened for a second meeting. Lyra addressed the room. "Director Han's actions are under thorough review. We have examined Milo's contributions, citizen reports, and multiple holographic recordings. This incident is not isolated. His behavior contradicts the values of the colony." Another council member added, "We must ensure that all citizens are treated with respect, regardless of their occupation or appearance. The colony thrives when every individual is valued." The investigation continued for several days. Milo remained humble, continuing his work on the farm and interacting kindly with neighbors and visitors. Even as the council reviewed the situation, Milo focused on tending his crops, repairing irrigation systems, and preparing for the next planting cycle. Citizen interest grew. Children visited Milo's farm after school, asking questions about the crops, while adults observed his work with admiration. People posted messages on personal networks, praising Milo for demonstrating patience, humility, and dignity. His calm actions contrasted sharply with Director Han's arrogance, creating a clear lesson in integrity for all who watched. Finally, the council reached a conclusion. Lyra addressed a large audience of citizens at the colony's central square. Holographic screens displayed key moments from the bank incident, emphasizing Milo's calm response and Han's poor judgment. "Today," Lyra said, "we recognize Milo, not only for his contributions to the colony's food supply, but also for his example of dignity, patience, and integrity. Director Han's actions were inappropriate and disrespectful. The council has decided to take immediate action to uphold fairness and respect across the colony." Back at the bank, Han's expression hardened as a message arrived, notifying him of his termination. He read the words silently, then slammed the message pad onto the counter. Employees watched quietly, some exchanging satisfied glances. Milo's calm and patience had set in motion a process that ensured justice. Meanwhile, Milo returned to his fields, unaware at first that the council had concluded its investigation. As he worked, he noticed more citizens stopping by, smiling, waving, and sharing kind words. The ripple effect of his calm, dignified behavior had grown far beyond what he had imagined. That evening, Milo stood at the edge of his farm, looking at the twin suns setting over the horizon. The fields shimmered in golden light, and the wind carried the soft rustle of crops swaying in unison. He felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. Justice had begun to take its course, but more importantly, his actions had reminded the colony of the value of patience, respect, and human dignity. Even though the situation with Director Han was resolved, Milo knew that maintaining fairness required continued effort from everyone in the colony. He continued tending his fields, helping neighbors, and quietly teaching children about the importance of honesty, hard work, and integrity. By the end of Part 3, readers see that the council is acting decisively. Milo's calm strength has inspired the colony, and Director Han is facing consequences. The stage is set for further recognition of Milo's contributions and the broader impact of his example on the community. The morning sun rose over New Terra Colony, casting soft golden light on the polished streets and the sprawling farms. Milo was already at work in his fields, inspecting the hydrocorn and crystal beans for signs of pests or undergrowth. The wind carried the familiar scent of nutrient-rich soil, and the gentle hum of irrigation systems filled the air. Milo had become more than just a farmer to the citizens of the colony. His calm strength during the incident at the bank had inspired many. Children, curious and wide-eyed, sometimes visited the edge of his fields to watch him work. Adults whispered about his integrity and humility. Even strangers traveling through the colony took note, sharing stories of the farmer who had quietly shown the value of patience and dignity. At the same time, Director Han faced the consequences of his actions. His termination from the bank had been immediate, but the ripple effects were larger than he anticipated. Colleagues who had once avoided confronting him now spoke openly about his arrogance. Citizens avoided the bank for a few days, demanding better service and fairness in all transactions. The story of Milo's dignity had become a lesson for everyone. That day, Milo received a formal invitation from the Colony Council. The message asked him to attend a public recognition ceremony at the central square. He hesitated at first, unused to being in the spotlight, but Juno, his neighbor, encouraged him. "You have earned this, Milo," Juno said, handing him a small satchel of fresh grains as a gift. "Your patience and integrity have inspired the entire colony. Go and let them honor you." Milo nodded quietly. "I will go, not for recognition, but so others understand that dignity and fairness matter." When Milo arrived at the central square, a crowd had already gathered. Holographic displays were set up, showing images from the bank incident. The scattered credits, Milo calmly picking them up, and the citizens' reactions. Children waved from the edges, holding banners that read, "Respect and integrity matter and heroes work quietly." Chairperson Lyra stepped forward, her expression both serious and proud. "Today, we gather to recognize not only a citizen's hard work, but also the strength of character that defines our humanity. Milo, your actions have reminded us that dignity, patience, and honesty are the foundation of our colony." Milo stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the suns on his back and the gentle breeze brushing his face. He looked at the crowd, noticing familiar faces from the marketplace, neighboring farms, and even children who had watched him work from afar. His heart felt full, but he remained humble. "You have shown us that true strength is not measured by anger or words," Lyra continued. "It is measured by the ability to act with integrity, to treat others fairly, and to contribute to the greater good. Milo, we honor you today." The crowd erupted into applause. Citizens cheered, some raising their hands to salute Milo's humility and calm strength. Holographic cameras captured the moment, sending the story across the colony and even to other human settlements on New Terra. Milo's example was spreading, teaching others that human dignity and fairness were values worth protecting. Meanwhile, back at the bank, employees and former colleagues of Director Han discussed the incident. Some admitted that they had quietly admired Milo's behavior, even before the council's recognition. Others spoke about the changes they hoped to implement in the bank to prevent similar incidents. A young teller, Ilan, said, "We need to treat every customer with respect, no matter who they are. Milo showed us the right way to act, and we must follow that example." Across the colony, citizens began small acts of kindness and fairness in their daily interactions. Farmers helped one another, traders treated customers with care, and children practiced patience and honesty. Milo's actions had become more than just a personal triumph. They had ignited a wave of positive change. Back at the central square, Milo spoke softly to the crowd. "I am honored by your recognition," he said. "But this is not about me alone. Every citizen of this colony contributes in their own way. Each of us must act with patience, dignity, and respect. That is what makes our community strong." The applause grew louder. Lyra smiled, acknowledging Milo's humility. "Let this be a lesson for everyone," she said. "Humanity's strength lies in its ability to uplift others, to act with fairness, and to honor the contributions of every individual." As the ceremony ended, Milo returned to his farm. The citizens dispersed, but their whispers of admiration continued to spread. Children shared the story with friends, and adults discussed how they could improve their interactions in markets, workplaces, and homes. Milo's quiet actions had started a movement of human unity and decency across the colony. At the farm, Milo continued his work, but he now felt a greater sense of purpose. It was no longer just about feeding the colony. It was about demonstrating through action that humans could uphold values of fairness, respect, and dignity even in difficult situations. His crops flourished under his care, and neighboring farmers sought his advice on both farming techniques and ethical leadership. Meanwhile, the Colony Council implemented new guidelines for all public service positions. Employees were trained to respect citizens, listen carefully, and act fairly. The council emphasized that every individual, no matter their role or occupation, deserved respect. Milo's example became part of this training, showing that calmness, patience, and dignity were as important as skill and knowledge. Director Han, now removed from his position, reflected on his behavior. He realized that his arrogance and disregard for others had not only cost him his job, but had also damaged his reputation permanently. Some former colleagues offered advice, encouraging him to learn from Milo's example. Slowly, Han began to understand the value of respect and humility, though it was a hard lesson. Milo, meanwhile, continued to focus on the future. He expanded his farm, implementing new irrigation systems and planting additional crops to feed more citizens. Neighbors and volunteers helped him, inspired by his patience and leadership. The small farm had grown into a hub of community effort, demonstrating that fairness, cooperation, and dignity could produce remarkable results. The twin suns of New Terra set over Milo's fields, painting the sky with soft shades of gold and crimson. He stood at the edge of his farm, looking at the swaying crops, feeling the gentle wind on his face. Around him, the community was thriving, inspired by a simple but powerful message. Humanity's true strength lies in dignity, integrity, and the willingness to uplift one another. By the end of Part 4, Milo had not only seen justice served, but had also helped the colony embrace a culture of fairness and unity. Citizens had learned from his example, leaders had taken action, and the story of one farmer's calm strength had become a symbol of human triumph. The stage was now set for the final part of the story. Milo's contributions, both as a farmer and as a moral example, would continue to influence the colony. Citizens would see that acting with patience, humility, and integrity could transform not only one individual's life but also the entire community. The mornings on New Terra Colony were peaceful, with soft sunlight spilling over golden fields. Milo moved through his farm, inspecting the hydrocorn, crystal beans, and nutrient-rich grains. Every plant had grown stronger since the incident at the bank, reflecting not only his care but the renewed sense of purpose he carried. Word of Milo's dignity and patience had spread across the colony. Citizens visited his farm not only to learn about farming techniques, but to witness the example of integrity he had set. Farmers from distant settlements arrived to see how Milo managed his crops with precision, care, and unwavering humility. Milo welcomed each visitor, showing them his techniques and speaking gently about the importance of hard work and respect. Juno, Milo's neighbor, helped coordinate the visitors. "Milo," she said one morning, "people from all over the colony are coming to learn from you. They are inspired by your work, not only in farming but in showing fairness and patience." Milo nodded quietly. "I only do what is right. If people see that, then the colony grows stronger, not just in food, but in humanity." Back in the city center, the Colony Council implemented programs to encourage fairness, kindness, and community cooperation. Public service employees received training based on Milo's example, learning how patience and integrity could resolve conflicts. Traders and merchants adopted new guidelines, ensuring every citizen, regardless of status, was treated with respect. One morning, Lyra, the chairperson of the council, visited Milo's farm. "Milo," she said warmly, "your actions have not only corrected a wrong but also strengthened the colony's spirit. Citizens now understand that integrity matters more than arrogance or appearances." Milo smiled. "Thank you, chairperson. I do not seek praise. I only want people to understand that fairness, patience, and honesty build stronger communities." As the days passed, Milo expanded his farm. He introduced new crops designed to provide better nutrition and adapted his irrigation system to conserve water efficiently. Volunteers and neighbors worked alongside him, inspired by his example. Children from the colony helped tend smaller plants, learning about responsibility and respect for nature. One afternoon, a group of young students arrived, curious and eager. Milo knelt beside them, showing how to plant seeds carefully. Every action has meaning, he explained. Whether in farming or in life, patience and care make a difference. Treat people and your work with respect, and the results will grow beyond your expectations. The children listened intently, planting seeds under Milo's guidance. Some whispered to each other about how calm and wise he seemed. Parents watched proudly, knowing that these lessons would shape the next generation of colony citizens. Meanwhile, the former bank employees, inspired by Milo's example, implemented changes to ensure respect for all customers. They shared stories of Milo with colleagues across New Terra Colony, emphasizing the value of dignity and patience in every interaction. Even Director Han, now removed from the bank, began to reflect on his actions. Though it was a slow process, he started to understand the importance of humility and respect for others. The colony itself began to transform. Markets were more organized and fair, farmers collaborated more openly, and children learned the importance of patience and honesty. Milo's story became a symbol, reminding everyone that human strength was not in power or wealth, but in integrity, kindness, and fairness. One evening, Milo stood at the edge of his farm, looking at the twin suns setting on the horizon. The fields glowed gold and green, waving gently in the breeze. He could hear the faint chatter of children playing nearby and the soft hum of irrigation systems. His farm was no longer just a place for growing food. It was a place where the colony learned and practiced the values that made it strong. Juno approached, carrying a basket of fresh produce. "Milo," she said, "you have changed more than just your farm. You have inspired an entire colony. People are working together, treating each other with respect and taking pride in their work." "This is a new beginning for all of us," Milo nodded. "It is not my doing alone. Every citizen has a part to play. But if my actions encourage others to act with integrity and fairness, then we all grow stronger." The council recognized Milo's contributions formally. A plaque was placed in the central square, honoring his dedication to both farming and ethical conduct. Citizens visited the plaque often, remembering the story of the farmer who had remained calm in the face of injustice and had quietly taught the colony the value of dignity. Even the children played near the plaque, sharing the story with their friends. "Milo was so patient," one child said. "He didn't get angry even when the manager threw his money. That shows true strength." "And he cares for everyone," another added. "He teaches us to be kind and honest." Milo's farm continued to thrive, producing enough food to support more families. He hired assistants and apprentices, teaching them not only farming skills but the importance of fairness and patience. The farm became a hub for learning, cooperation, and community growth. The colony itself benefited greatly. Food supplies were stable, citizens felt valued, and trust in public institutions grew stronger. The ripple effect of Milo's calm integrity had strengthened the social fabric, showing that one person's actions could inspire a positive change far beyond their immediate surroundings. As the years passed, Milo remained humble. He continued his daily work, speaking gently to visitors and neighbors. He celebrated harvests quietly, often sharing the fruits with those in need rather than seeking personal recognition. Yet his influence grew silently, shaping the colony in ways both practical and moral. On a warm evening, Milo watched as children played near the irrigation channels, laughing and learning. He smiled, knowing that the lessons they absorbed, patience, integrity, respect, would shape the future of New Terra Colony. The community was stronger, more united and more compassionate because one farmer had chosen dignity over anger, patience over frustration, and so, Milo's legacy endured. Not only through the crops he grew or the farm he tended, but through the lives he touched, the citizens he inspired, and the values he lived every day. New Terra Colony had become a place where fairness, cooperation, and human decency were not just ideals but everyday practice. In the soft light of the twin suns, Milo stood at the edge of his fields one last time for the day. The golden stalks of hydrocorn and glimmering crystal beans stretched toward the horizon. The gentle wind carried the sound of laughter, conversation, and life. Milo knew that this was only the beginning, a beginning where human dignity, patience, and integrity would continue to guide the colony for generations. Milo turned to his home, ready to rest for the night, but his heart was full. He understood that true success was not in recognition or rewards, but in the positive change one could inspire in others. And with that understanding, Milo slept peacefully, knowing that humanity's greatest strength lay not in wealth or power, but in integrity, patience, and kindness.